Maybe I can't be sharing my screen while I click it. So I think we're recording now, I believe.
Okay. It doesn't tell me any. Oh, yeah, I see it now. I wonder where that goes.
I think to their little cloud storage thing,
Oh,
probably.
yeah, probably.
We'll see. So, okay, so we're recording. I see a beeping light now. I think
Yep, it's red on mine as well.
we're in business then. Okay. Did you want to do like maybe like a quick intro as to like what we're gonna kind of try and do?
Yeah, so we've got this time box, and our plan in this video, in this kind of session, is to get a first version of iterativeship.com actually launched. We're going from zero all the way to public URL, full launched, production app and functioning and, you know, beautiful enough to get interest, hopefully. But the most important piece of the puzzle is like starting out with nothing and then building this uh, functional page.
Sweet. Well, I guess we'll kind of get started then. We'll create a directory, iterative ship. Just keep it all no kebab case, no nothing. Keep it simple. Initialize a little yarn project, and then we'll go ahead and add our initial libraries. So we'll build this as a Gatsby site. Like I work there, so there's kind of like this bias there ultimately. But they also have sweet plugins for MDX and those types of things. So we're just going to kind of get rocking and rolling with that. So with Gatsby, we can just install Gatsby, and then it's bring your own React and React DOM. So we'll kind of do that as well. And we'll kind of just get a hello world site rolling, and then we can pull in MDX and like theme UI and stuff. So that way we kind of slowly work through the different pieces.
Yeah, and Theme UI has a Gatsby specific plugin too, which I'm sure we'll cover when we install it as well.
Yeah. It's kind of all these technologies are sort of, we've just built the interfaces with Gatsby. So it's just kind of, it's a quick install away and it just kind of magically works, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the initial install will take a while, especially when I'm streaming. My poor baby MacBook Air. I've got my mini coming, I swear. It'll get faster.
I need to do the streaming.
Yeah. So okay, so we got this stuff installed. I'm also going to create a quick git ignore, get that ironed out from the beginning. We don't care about those node modules, and we also don't care about my Vim files.
Is there anything? I know that we're going to end up using Zeit probably. Is there any like Zeit specific like RC file or anything like that?
They have I guess a now ignore
Oh yeah.
that we'll probably want to add in. That bringing that up actually reminds me too that we'll probably want to ignore the Gatsby specific stuff too, which is the public directory and cache, because those are sort of your local build artifacts and all that good stuff, which we don't need to add to our source control.
Yeah, because we're going to build in the kind of integrated environment.
Yeah. So we'll do a git init too, and then git remote at origin. We won't create this yet, but I'll just go ahead and point it to where I guess we'll call it. So we'll just call it iterative ship will be the org. Should you just call this like site or?
Yeah, maybe iterativeShip.com, like the domain for it, or we could do like site or whatever, whatever works.
Something like that. I like that because then the repo is sort of literally named like what we're actually doing. That
it's like direct to the property itself.
We'll do that. And then I guess we'll just kind of create our quick hello world sort of page. So the first thing we're going to want to do is create source pages.
Hmm.
This is sort of the magic directory that turns everything into a routable page based off our file names and all that good stuff. So we can do source pages, index.js, and we'll import React. And of course, I guess we'll have to start with that hello world.
Of course. Yeah, I've always thought about doing a different thing for Hello World. Like in React, like having a button switcher or something as the Hello World.
Mm-hmm.
Everything takes longer, so I've never found anything that's fast enough. And I proved the point.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's one of those like few things like from the computer science background that actually is welcoming too. Like everything's like ASTs and nodes and linked lists in your face. But here, when we start this program, we'll just say hello world.
Simplest possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And then so we'll go ahead and add a start script to. We'll run. Actually, we'll then map that to the develop script, which will then be yarn develop, since it's sort of I guess common practice to use a yarn develop for Gatsby develop.
Yeah.
But I'm one of those weirdos. It's like, but that's more to type. So I like to map that to to yarn start too, because I don't know about you, but I feel like once you land on a particular like repo and you clone it, like I love just running yarn and yarn start.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like there should be a little bit of like standardization on that, but that's the one place that I found everybody kind of throws all of their own stuff in the package.json scripts.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this should be good. So I'll just go ahead and open up another tab and run yarn start. Let's run yarn develop. So that looks good. I want to make some room so we can toss the browser panel up there too. All right, whoops, wrong one. So it's live. We should hopefully see hello world.
There it is.
All right, let's move this out of the way.
Now, for anybody who's less acquainted with Gatsby, is this building a full like HTML page with head and body and all that, or is it just that H1 tag?
It builds a little bit of the stuff. It creates what is a basic skeleton, but it doesn't really add much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess in the future and maybe later in this or the next stream, we'll want to add, you use React Helmet directly, so we can kind of add more head content and that good stuff. But it does fully scaffold out the HTML document, all the things. And so
Right.
then when we, of course, we run the build, each different thing in source pages or any pages that we like kind of programmatically create actually do end up as just a static HTML page that is then kind of progressively enhanced.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, for the benefit of the person that hasn't connected the dots on, hey, where did that like render happen? It's because we're using Gatsby.
Yeah, it provides some magic here, which is it's kind of nice. Which is ultimately each of your pages, as we see here, is just you export a component and we call that, and so it lets you avoid a lot of the build stuff. And so I think the next thing we'll go ahead and add is Gatsby MDX, and so we have Gatsby plugin MDX. I can never remember the install script and all that good stuff. So we'll work it from the docs. And so yeah, here's our our installation. Do you want to kind of describe MDX a little bit? I feel like I'm too close to it sometimes to sort of give it a solid description.
Yeah, so I'll do probably I won't do it justice here, most likely, but the way that I've seen it like most useful is it allows me to write my markdown like I'm used to writing, of like markdown everywhere, because most of what I do when I'm authoring pages is write content. But then the times that I need to bring in a custom component on any given page, I can do that in MDX. So it allows you to write JSX in the context of your markdown file. And with this plugin, you can do that just kind of readily, easily uh, inside of Gatsby.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Am I missing something there?
No, I think you totally nailed it. And it's funny because I should have been installing while you're talking about it. So now we have another install scenario. But yeah, basically you can mix in components with your markdown files, which is useful for content heavy sites, which is kind of most of the web really when it boils down to it. Which is
When this first was created, my first thought was, oh, there's going to be like a bunch of, you know, like charts is like the most obvious example to me of where this could be really useful, because charts are kind of a hard thing to just drop in, because a lot of the time you have this supporting, whatever files you have or whatever data you need to pull in, but MDX makes that super easy to do.
Yeah, totally. And really kind of where MDX sort of started was similarly to charts, but sort of trying to document design systems. And like Brent Jackson and I were trying to figure out the best way to write content in Markdown, but then sort of mix in live code blocks in your components and sort of show examples. And ultimately, we were pretty unhappy with the status quo and sort of decided to start the thing from scratch.
Yeah, it feels like it was like separated into two completely different spheres. Either you have to go and do a bunch of custom stuff, or you can only rely on this like text block WYSIWYG kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and so what I've done now is I've just moved the index.js file to be index.mdx, and then if we can cat it really quick and see how it's changed. I just made it so it's an H1 with using Markdown syntax, and that says hello world. And so now the thing that we'll need to do is create a Gatsby config. And so this is what Gatsby will just sort of automatically read in when we run build or develop or anything like that. And we'll specify that we want to use the plugin for Gatsby plugin MDX. So we'll do here.
Otherwise, you have kind of the automatic built-in stuff that Gatsby supports. But since we brought in this plugin, we need to let Gatsby know, hey, this plugin exists. Otherwise, it's just another JavaScript.
Yeah. And so hopefully we did everything correctly and we'll see a hello world again. And hypothetically, nothing should have changed. The same thing is being rendered, but now in a new way.
Everything looks good.
Yeah, so far. This, I think, might be just a little bit of a Gatsby plugin MDX bug too, because we don't source any nodes programmatically. I believe this gets raised even if pages are using MDX, which is something we'll have to address. But
yeah, so what you're saying there is that typically in a Gatsby like page, you're going to actually have the pulling of that data down below, or is it in the config where that would be, right? Like where you would need to see it?
it would often live like in the Gatsby config where you'd use something like Gatsby source file system, and
Okay,
you'd call like I want to source all the MDX files inside the docs directory or whatever. And
that's
so
define like your own custom types and that kind of thing, right?
yeah. And so when those are pulled in, Gatsby plugin MDX looks, because everything's based off the MIME type. And so MDX sees, it just attaches itself to anything that's either Markdown or .mdx extensions and performs the transformations.
Yeah.
It looks like my build seems to be
Stalled.
frozen. I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's try it one more time. Let's do the good old yarn clean. And then let's yarn start again. So yarn clean calls Gatsby clean. And so essentially all that it does is just nukes the .cache in public directories.
Gotcha.
Sometimes there's like weird stuff that can get introduced, like especially when we're switching between like a .js file and a .mdx file. The wrong thing could end up being cached. And I think we've now made it farther than we did last time. So hopefully we should be good. Yeah, it seemed to have gotten stuck on building schema, which
Interesting.
shouldn't have.
So yarn clean, is that something that's built into Gatsby, or did you write that in the script and I just missed it?
I added it to the scripts, but it is basically just calling Gatsby clean directly. So that's what it's doing. And I have it seems to be getting stuck again. I'm not sure why.
So this is why estimates always suck, right?
Always, yeah. It's funny. It's like Zoom plus using Gatsby for like the builds like makes my computer just go to sleep and not do anything. Why aren't we working?
Yeah, all you have open is Zoom and
Chrome. We shouldn't need this anymore. We can just kind of nuke the Gatsby plugin MDX. Just make sure that my config is correct, so I'm not like something's getting swallowed. But yeah, Gatsby plugin MDX. That is correct.
yeah, and it was different on each of those.
Where it froze, yeah.
Where it stopped, which kind of feels like memory.
Try one more time. See what happens.
I like the prompt question, by the way, when something doesn't generate nodes. It's really useful. It's not like it's generated no nodes, and then like you have to figure out what to do. It's saying, do you need it? Like maybe you should uninstall this thing so that you don't have all these unnecessary dependencies in your project.
Yeah, what's it doing there? Is that required? Yeah, this is funky.
It's a cleaning works. What happens if you just go back to the JavaScript file? Let's see if.
Oh, see, this is super weird. Now it's gone most of the way. We'll see if it continues going. Like basically, it's like my machine's fucked. Is like what it boils down to. It's like can't handle it all.
There we are.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to run at least one more build for the theme UI integration, but then maybe from there on out, it should work like we expect. And so let's actually make sure this is indeed working now. So let's kind of change this index.mdx to be something different. Okay.
There it is.
So we're somewhat working, which is good. Maybe we'll have to restart it like 3 or 4 times to get the theme UI installation going, but that's okay. And so here we're jumping into theme UI. I guess we can kind of talk about this really quick for a second. So theme UI is kind of like the content-aware almost implementation of styled system. And if you haven't sort of looked deeply into styled system is sort of a way to use CSS and JS libraries, but to tap into anything in your theme files. So it allows you we can kind of jump in here where you can say, I want color primary. And this will actually map to your colors object in theme, and then it will look for the primary value in colors. And if it finds it, it will return tomato. Otherwise, it will return just the string primary. That will be its default. So this sort of allows you to roll with a lot of like the benefits of CSS and JS, which means you don't have to worry about like naming things like global scope and cascade in a large way that is kind of required at with CSS. But then it sort of allows you to make sure that you don't have magic numbers everywhere, because a lot of the times your primary theme can really boil down to like typography, spacing values, and like a collection of colors and those types of things. And so theme UI is sort of the MDX aware version that allows you to actually target elements inside of its provider. And so why, like how the MDX piece works is sort of kind of wild in and of itself, because it allows you to propagate your styles to all your children that are going to be rendered via context, but it doesn't actually introduce global scope, like so global like styling or anything like that. So you can even mix different implementations of theme UI together in the same site, and until they overlap, they are sort of, they can operate independently, because it actually modifies the MDX provider, which dictates like what H1 we render when you use the H1. So if you want background tomato on this one particular, on your docs part of your site, then you on your blog, you want Rebecca purple to be your H1 color or something like that. It allows you to do that like basically seamlessly. So it's sort of, I guess, how it's a little bit different than styled system, because it's not based around targeting application styles and dashboards and stuff. It's more around sort of working well with content, I guess.
Yeah.
And so from here, we'll go ahead and use the Gatsby plugin theme UI. And this is like that plugin that is built in. And we already have MDX JS React installed, so we won't need to do that one, but we'll need to add these files.
And the reason we have that is because we installed MDX earlier.
Yep. Yeah. So it's kind of, both of these libraries are like, go ahead and bring your own. And one of the weird reasons why like that's the case, in case anyone's like interested, basically you can bring multiple Reacts to your client. You don't want to, but it happens sometimes. But if those conflicting Reacts have different contexts, the like stuff will get missed, and you'll have these weird like subtle bugs and stuff where you're like, oh, I set the theme here, why is it not working? But because between two versions of React on the same page, they can't actually talk to the same context. And so usually like a lot of these client-side libraries like MDX and like in the theme UI stuff, they'll say you bring like your version of the actual React implementation, so that way we can kind of ensure that we're not going to stomp or whatever.
Right. Same thing happens when you have two versions of React and you try to do something with hooks. Often there's collisions there.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. And so we've got this added. The first thing that then we'll also want to do is we'll want to sort of customize the theme. And so it shows how you can do that here. This uses what Gatsby is sort of kind of created called shadowing. And so each of your themes and like your plugins that you install, you can actually on the fly change the files that they bring. And so here we're gonna touch our own theme file, so that way we can sort of just modify that one, or like modify our own local theme, because this is where we're gonna like set our type scale and all that good stuff. And yeah, it was just first we're gonna want to make that directory, don't we? So here we touched it, and we'll go source. And for now we'll just cut and paste their example theme. And now we've got that, and essentially Gatsby theme UI is totally like installed. We'll just need to actually start to use it. So
Mhm.
let's hope that my computer will build it.
And so at this point, we're going to be able to essentially import that theme and use it in the index that we've already created, right?
Pretty much. But I think the extra cool part is we won't actually have to import the theme.
Oh, right, because
Um, yeah, that's just already added by the plugin. So it just kind of magically is like, oh yeah, well you're probably going to want to wrap your app with this context. So we'll just do it for you.
yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely it's got to be some weird like memory or like CPU thing because
it
like
totally works.
yeah, it just gets locked and you got to try a couple times and then it randomly decides to work.
So while this is going, um, let's talk a little bit more. I think about shadowing is probably a useful thing to talk about because I think that's probably one of the things that people are going to get. It's a little bit more specific to theme UI, maybe.
Well, it's specific to themes in general
Yeah.
in the Gatsby context, which for like this website, we won't necessarily be kind of using a bunch of like themes or anything. Though maybe at some point, like when if we want to like add a blog or something like that, we'll sort of bring in a theme, so that way we can kind of not have to worry about setting up a blog. We just write a couple components, which is pretty cool. But the idea behind like shadowing is you can install a theme and like configure that on your website. So for example, like, blog is like a good one to sort of, use as like the shining example.
Mm-hmm.
But with the blog, let's say you have these different pieces, like you have your heading, you have your footer, you have like the author bio, you have your posts, and all these different components that are part of your theme. And so with like Gatsby theme shadowing, you can say, since there is a file like Gatsby theme blog has source components bio as one of its components,
Mm-hmm.
you can then say, well, I'll create my own file. It essentially uses like file system mirroring.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so you can create source Gatsby theme blog components bio. And instead of rendering the theme's original bio component, it will render the one that you implement and you specify. And that goes farther than just components too. It can be basically like any JavaScript file. It can be any CSS file or essentially anything in the source directory. And so it kind of allows you this way. It kind of works similarly to how like if you've worked in Rails, like
Mm-hmm.
the gems will work a lot of the times for, like the mailer will just sort of pull its own special mailer. But until you actually create the file structure that's looking for, then it will pick up your
Yeah.
txt file or ERB or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's
With Devise in particular, this is for people who have used Rails before, but the Devise gem, if you build those views in that particular directory, it'll use them. Otherwise, it uses the internal ones.
yeah, yep. Okay, so we've got theme UI rocking and rolling. Let's see, yeah, the build's working. It's a little slow, but it's I guess good enough for now. So we can go ahead and actually add. I think the first thing that we're probably going to want to do is create our layout. So we can kind of add like a little layout file. So what she'll do is sort. We want to actually create a components directory. And then we'll go ahead and edit components. We'll call it layout.js. So here we'll import React. Take the children. And then we'll we'll just add hi to make sure it's working. And then we'll import it from our page. And go back one, components, layout. Then we'll export it as default, which essentially means wrap my MDX file with this component. And sweet,
Yeah,
now we have our
that's the thing that people probably haven't seen before is those two things mixed. There's the markdown, and there's of course a lot of people probably have seen MDX by now, but at the bottom there, the hash, you might interpret that just kind of naturally as like a comment. Of course, you can't do a hash comment in JavaScript, but that's MDX there.
Yeah. So now that we have our layout rocking, I guess we'll, maybe before we start tossing in all the design, I'll pop open our little content piece that we had.
Yeah, we can just scaffold out the page with.
Yeah, so we'll get our content rocking, and then we'll sort of figure out what different sort of stuff we want to change and kind of tweak to get that going. Because yeah, one of the things that I'm always sort of all about and pretty like kind of passionate about is like, oh, of course this doesn't like copy pasta correctly though, is like starting with your content and then kind of rolling with it from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe if I edit it, it will let me copy pasta.
Set paste equals true, I think, in Vim. It might.
Oh yeah, you're right. I haven't had to do that in so long. I'm like, can't remember. What is it again?
I think it's so yeah, colon
set paste.
Well, it'd be yeah, exactly. Sorry, my words aren't working. Paste equals true, I think. Or it may just be set paste, because I think you set no paste when you're done. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, so yeah, that was what was screwed up.
There we go. And then I think you have to set no paste now.
Yeah, that's the magic too.
A little Vim thing to do that. Leader and then PP does the pasting for me.
Nice. Okay, so here we are. We have
it's done.
Our markdown document. Like, yeah, I guess we call it good, right? I wonder if maybe now we should like just configure Zeit
and literally go ahead and get this up. Yeah.
Like literally just ship it like as is, and then we can sort of make it pretty. It might be, it's a little ridiculous, but it's not the worst that we've seen. Yeah. And now it'll be so easy to like configure anyways that, so the first thing that I guess we'll do, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you said something.
Oh, no. So I think we said we're going to create the org.
Yeah. So we'll do new organization. We'll call this Iterative Ship. I guess it's personal between us for now, right? Yeah. Don't charge us. We don't. It's just, this is an idea. We're trying to play computer. So we'll just set my email for the billing email.
Is it John T. Otender?
Or did I spell it wrong?
I was just making. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, good idea. This was what's funny. It's like it's right there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's like maybe his middle name starts with a T. I don't remember.
No, yeah, you're. Oh, I think I already took it, so I'll just need to change that so it's the right email. It looks like it It's created.
Yeah.
So I'll invite you later.
All right.
We'll just create the repo first.
The chosen icon that they have for us there kind of looks like a spaceship for Iterative Ship.
Yeah, it's like a Space Invader thing going on.
Obviously, we're going with the nautical theme.
Yeah, like the Space Invaders would be a good one, but I like the nautical. You know, fishes. Fishes are approachable. They're nice.
There's way too many opportunities with boats.
Yeah, there's a million. So we'll just call this iterative. Of course, we gotta also add in our README. Your installation should just be git clone. Oh, and then yarn.
Yeah.
And development. Start. The website or the code for iterativeship.com.
Yeah, I was wondering, does that actually just auto link on the GitHub's special flavor of Markdown?
I don't think so, because I think it needs the HTTP
Yeah.
specification, then I'll auto link. So we'll just sort of add that in there.
Just by doing that README, by the way, anybody who's like watching this, that puts this project like a step above the average project on GitHub.
Yeah. And so did I add the remote? I can't remember. No, change remote. Ship.
Oh yeah, I remember what you're talking. Yeah, I think you did add the remote.
I did. Okay. Isn't it? Oh, I said remove. Get remotes.
Yeah.
Verbose. Yeah, so we're there. So we should just be able to push this puppy now. We'll have all of our codes on the GitHub. Okay. That's cool.
Very nice.
Now let's auto deploy that to a website. Oh, the first thing I guess we want to do too is now I guess we'll create the team first.
Oh yeah.
So then we can wire that in and buy the domain.
Backwards assign on now, or like it's just harder to do it that way.
Yeah. Though actually, I think we might have to buy it first. I can just buy it under my domain, like under my account, and then transfer it to the. Well, then I think the team can take it over because I don't want to like bother putting in my like credit card and stuff right now, but it's attached to my other, I guess my personal account. So I think we just do this iterative ship. So we created our team. Set up the GitHub integration. So I think we can just kind of select this puppy. He'll do all repositories.
Which there will be more.
And then, yeah, I'll add my password really quick. Turn off the share. So I'm not like that good at sharing my screen with everyone yet. I don't know what I'm doing.
And we should talk about what Zyda is probably like briefly for anyone.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Do you want to take a whack at that?
Sure. I mean, the easiest thing to think about it as is like nearly instant deployment and hosting. And probably the coolest part to me is the kind of like immutable nature of every deployment. So whenever you deploy to using now their CLI, it creates a new deployment for each time you do that. So you never actually change code on a deployment for Zeit. It just creates new ones each time. That's like one of 100 things they do. They do a bunch of other stuff too.
Sweet. So now I think we can just do now domains. Well, actually, I'll just go ahead and freaking add my credit card again. I'll be right back with the screen share. Let's hope I have my wallet in my pocket. Because I'm like a caveman that doesn't have his stuff saved on his browser.
I don't save I have my card in my head actually. It's the safest pseudo safest way to keep the card information. But I also have it in another place that's pretty insecure that now I'm feeling really self-conscious about.
Oh no, my card's over here. Everyone knows.
Yeah, a couple other things that Zeit does. I'm pretty sure you buy domains through Zeit too, right?
Yeah, you can now. It's so cool. It's so easy. Which yeah, I'm actually excited to like add that as part of this. It's gonna like make us seem smart, but we didn't do anything. Like we just typed in a command.
Right.
So they now have my credit card on this account, so that's good. So they should just let us buy it now. So I can do now switch iterative ship. And so that will switch me to this iterative ship team on Zeit. I think, if I remember correctly. Okay, it worked. Sweet. There we are. And actually, this our name. We gotta add that space. Get that branding right. You know.
Yeah, no joke. Do you know if there's a way to like, can you run now team and see what team you're on? Or like now.
Yeah, I think so. See, like I'm sure there's some command. It might even just be now team or
Now LS teams.
now teams ls.
Probably have like a little pointer or something. Huh. I'm sure there's a way to do it. We don't have to get sidetracked on that.
Yeah, and it must be somewhere. But there we are. Here's our new team, and we just switched to it. So now we should just be able to do now domains by iterativeship.com. And there we are, $12 a year, sold.com domain.
Glad somebody didn't swoop in and grab that, by the way.
What's that?
I'm glad somebody didn't swoop in and grab that.
Yeah, peekaboo. We've got this now. Well, we can just be iterativeship1.com then. That's fine. Or become get one of the other sort of fancy dev domains or something.
Oh yeah, dev. It seems like my Chrome doesn't like .dev domains, or maybe it's just the VPN that I typically use as a part of work every day. But .dev doesn't always work right for me.
Yeah, it's a funny one. It's we can also add our now.json. Let's see if I can remember the actual configuration, but I think we can just do, I think it's just called alias.
Yeah.
Here, and then we can tell it iterativeship.com. And so that knows that when like our production deployments, like that will come, as you said before, with like their special sort of unique domain, like kind of URLs. Mm-hmm. But then it knows like when we have a production deployment, Zeit's all smart and maps that directly to iterativeship.com. And so then when we do that, I think if we just push this straight to GitHub, now that the GitHub integration is on, it might deploy for us.
Yeah, I wonder how it knows which repo to map to iterativeship.com versus other domains.
Because of the alias we just added. That's how it'll know. Yeah. And I would imagine if you had like multiple repos that
Hmm.
all alias the same thing, it might stomp it or something. I don't know how smart it is,
Things
but
will let you know that it's not working.
yeah. And I think because like normally you need to add other additional stuff to your now JSON for your build, but I'm pretty sure, and I haven't actually tested it, but now that like the latest versions of now
Hmm.
will like see that we're using Gatsby and just know how to configure the entire deployment. So it knows to run Gatsby build. It knows that it pushes everything to the public directory and then hosts that statically.
Hmm.
At least allegedly, it's what it's supposed to do. But we could be missing something. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
it'd be. Oh yeah, it looks like it's trying to do it now. So you can actually pop into this puppy and see what's happening. Yeah, look, yeah, it's building. It's trying to build the app.
Yeah,
So
one of the cool things you can do with Zeit is you can actually go to their like the actual domain that this is for, the now.sh domain, and it'll show you the build as it's happening as well. Like what you're seeing right here, you can see on the .sh. Yeah, that thing.
yeah, I think this one. Right? Oh no, it's
Oh
deploying
yeah, no,
now.
it's done. So
So like yeah, we've got our live website. So
so
I
does it
mean,
is it mapped? Oh, it's mapped. We can go to iterativeship.com now too.
yeah, we're just I just lost it. Yeah, it was this one. So now we should just be able to go right here. And yeah, like we now have like our
This.
site deployed. So now like this is actually kind of cool. And I don't know about like you, but one of my favorite workflows is just sort of just get that first thing just out there. Cause now it's like you just can sit there, push commits, and it's gonna automatically like deploy your latest stuff. And if there's a build error, like you ship some type of like crazy breaking bug, like if you're using, I don't know, window that's outside of a use effect or something, that'll fail the build and that new thing won't be deployed. But this kind of it allow it's like that important workflow to make sure you get your shit out there as early as possible because now it's there, and so now we're like, oh crap, we got to actually make this better because right now we're serving raw HTML to a bunch of like anyone that goes to this website. We need to make this pretty now.
It's like a magnet, right? It's like it's drawing us towards it in a way. Like I like to think kind of spatially about this stuff. And to me, it's like if it's here held on my computer, then there's no like potential energy here. There's no reason for me to work on it other than like whatever my motivation is. But when it's out in the world and people can go and visit our horribly designed website, now I feel the sense of responsibility for it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And then like making that next ship isn't something that you even need to remember to. You
Right.
just commit like an edit to your markdown file or something, and you just push that to GitHub, and you don't have to remember even like, oh, how do I deploy this again? Which
Right.
ultimately with like Zeit now is like so easy anyways.
Yeah.
Like I've definitely worked on projects like originally like CSS stats used to like I had to manually deploy that like every time on DigitalOcean. Like I had to like SSH into this thing. So like I created like a script and stuff to like do it, but it was definitely like a how do I do this again?
Yeah. Yeah. I've worked on projects where I had to like SSH in for deployment. I would just keep a session open and then git pull from master. Like that's how I would deploy. It was like live code. I would just pull it in, and if it's there, it's there. It's done. It's live, and that was not great. if you
Yeah,
forget, like if you forget to deploy, it doesn't matter how many updates you push to master.
yeah, it's funny. So now I can close this Zeit thing. You can just get rid of this GitHub repo now because that's all rocking. So I think now, I guess let's look at what I had on the of our different tasks to try and attack and see where we are. This we can kind of save potentially for later.
Yeah.
That's not really like super important. So yeah, I think now maybe it's if we can get to the form,
Yeah.
cool, but maybe making it pretty first might be,
Kind of that first layer
yes.
of polish on it.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about? We'll add that first coat of paint to make it not total shit, and then we'll go to try and get the form, and then maybe we can get back again
Yeah,
to sort of yeah, attack it one more time. So I think one of the first things that we can kind of do to make this like pretty is actually just grab one of the presets from Theme UI.
I think that's good.
So that way we can sort of just make sure that it's not terrible.
And really, like, if you're thinking about this from the perspective of design, and you're, let's say for whatever reason you're not using Theme UI, but you want to go and make something pretty, the first thing that I'm thinking about is type. And then the second thing that I'm thinking about is bringing the content into like a readable width. Those two things can make like a massive difference. And it's probably 20 lines of code, if that. Probably not.
Totally. And so, yeah, the first thing we can just do is then pop this whole thing in. And I'm going to do something like extra cute because we don't have prettier set up yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really care about doing that. So let's just go format it in line. So let's just, we'll make it pretty. Here we go. Export default. Like this is how glamorous my coding is sometimes. Is because ultimately we're gonna want like prettier to be set up and like a post commit hook and all that good stuff to sort of automate this.
Yeah.
But right now we'll be gross. It's fine.
Great. I actually installed VS Code the other day to get the little prettier extension rather than trying to get my Vim like auto prettify thing running. I just went and I've abandoned Vim for 20 minutes.
Yeah, there we go. And then so actually we'll touch on this part really quick too. So now we have like we can kind of go over like what's in here really quick. So basically we have this collection of colors. These are just the default colors for this preset. That's kind of like, the most full featured but basic kind of thing that doesn't have like a whole lot of, it's like delightfully minimalistic because it doesn't really like have personality. So you can kind of layer it in as you want. But then it also has this color modes, which we can potentially tap into later, which will allow you to sort of very easily and quickly sort of add different themes to your site. So or like have like a dark mode per se and that type of stuff. But the other stuff it's adding is it's adding like a body, heading, and monospace font, which are just system UI, and then setting min low for the monospace. And then it says font sizes, font weights, couple other things, and then it also uses this text styles, which will probably, once we start building some apps with Iterative Ship, we'll see this a lot more. This is using like the Theme UI variants API, but it's a way to collect a handful of different properties and like mappings to then so that you can use it in like a single way. So you might have like a button link and danger button, and like here, like we have a heading variant, which has just basically it's saying use the heading font family, the heading font weight, and heading line height. But it's like, yeah, it's a way you can kind of group a bunch of things together and then be able to toggle it with like a single property, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember doing like utility classes that would wrap together a handful of those type things because any one of them on their own was not like sufficient to do the thing. So you had to have them together or not at all.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's basically, it's using that exact same paradigm that really was like, yeah, popularized, especially in like utility CSS,
Yeah.
but then kind of bringing it to the CSS and JS world to kind of allow you to sort of set it globally somewhere. And then you just like toggle your variant, which is similar to like, yeah, changing your class name or whatever.
Yeah. And this like structure, if I were to pull all the keys out of this and like put them on a page, the structure is opinionated, right? So theme UI cares about what is in here. If you were to add arbitrary stuff, is
Mhm.
there any value in adding arbitrary things?
Yeah, and so like the variant API allows you to add arbitrary stuff, but it's one of those things where if you have like 2,000 variants, maybe you're not using it right. But like like your simple stuff that like it's pretty global, like typography, maybe your cards, and that type of stuff, like your buttons, is like really like the perfect usage of it.
Right.
And but like the theme here is actually it's based off this system UI theme specification. And so it is sort of a like what is sort of it's a loose spec but kind of based off CSS values, but JavaScriptifies them because they're more easily JSON serializable anyways. And but the idea is there's sort of like a shape that we expect and that we sort of want you to use,
Yep.
and theme UI itself uses that. And ideally, like when you want to sort of translate this data to something else, like to, I don't know, like to Figma or to Framer or to Sketch or some other type, or even if maybe you have like another property that's like your marketing site that isn't using React and you want to use Tachyons or Tailwind or like some type, it's like something else,
Mm-hmm.
like even Bootstrap. Like the idea is that like if everyone adheres to this sort of spec, we can then create tools to like automatically generate Bootstrap classes or Tachyons classes and that type of stuff. And so this
Yeah.
is sort of the shape that it adheres to, and yeah, which is why it kind of has
Right.
this specific keys.
Yeah, it's a big concern while you are going through that setup. Uh, to For a lot of people who are like concerned about CSS and JS, one of the things that I've heard is like you're locked in. Like there's not a escape hatch to get back to a different thing, a different way of doing it. And with CSS, you're not locked in. And I think actually the opposite is true with theme UI. You're not locked in because it is kind of formalized in this way. And instead of having classes to kind of break apart in the future, you have this much more, I don't know, like rich data driven way of thinking about your design tokens.
Yeah, totally. And it's one of those things where it promotes reusability way more than like CSS even. Like now, of course, we have like custom properties, but those are very new. And even like your custom properties, because one of the ways that like theme UI sort of came to be was us analyzing how we can create massive like monolithic themes in like Gatsby land, but be able to put them together and not have stuff break.
Yeah.
Which even if you're using like CSS custom properties, but then you have like this whole thing designed around those. If you're trying to compose that with another theme, you put these two things together, those custom properties could stomp each other,
Yeah.
and which isn't like it's going to be like a rare thing, and most like themes are probably going to be like built to like interop between each other. But when it comes to like like the core thing, like we just want that to make we want to make sure that, like that never happens, right? Like you don't just I have Gatsby theme tomato and Gatsby theme purple and I put them together and now I have like tomato here, purple here, and they're like talking to the same page that only one's supposed to like dictate styles to.
Yeah.
That's sort of the idea around that. But well, ultimately, like the theme UI config can very trivially be just translated back to like CSS, like whichever type you want, like whether it's Bootstrap or BEM or utility based stuff. Like it's like that there literally is an escape hatch, and that was sort of some of the rationalization around using the theme and like creating a spec around it, is that it helps it so like if we all hone in on one thing, we can make sure that like there's interoperability between all those things, because you're not like wedded to it. You have that flexibility to kind of go in and out of different things. So like if you suddenly decide we can't use CSS and JS any longer, you have an out, which is cool.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
so, go ahead.
I said, let's see what happens.
Yeah, totally. And so, yeah, the one thing now that we'll have to add in is Theme UI introduces, I guess, what's called this styled component. That's sort of the way for your document. So like right now, our MDX document is being wrapped by like the theme UI provider. So like that context is there, but we haven't actually tapped into it. So like that's why we don't see like the body styles being added or anything like that in our document, which is it's essentially by design. So that way you have to opt in to, like, you basically say, oh, I want the theme UI styles, like pull it in. And so the way you can do that is by using the styled component, and it's based off this style.root. And so if we import in our file, we can import the styled component. And in addition to styled root, there's also like styled H1, styled H2, like the styled paragraph.
You can kind of surgically choose the thing that you want if you want to do it that way.
Yeah. And so like, if you're building, in addition to like your content, maybe you have like an extra page or something that's like in like just pure React, you can actually pull in those same styles and then decide like if you want to change them or, kind of do whatever.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, if I'm not like lying out my ass, we should be able to do style.root, and we should see some happy styles in our page. But naturally, no, must have something screwy.
So we've got a root.
We have the root set. There should be a body.
I wonder the theme file. Where's that brought in again?
That's in the shadowed file. So it should be here.
Does that auto like recognize that, or is that done at build time?
Should be automatically recognized, but we can actually, you can see, I'm trying to remember the name of it. See, because it should call the emotion provider, and that will have a bunch of that should essentially have the theme.
There's emotion there. Root is at the bottom of that, but
yeah, there's actually one other thing we can do too to sort of see if we're getting what we want. I think it's use theme UI. So we can just call this hook directly, and we can log out what's there, because either I have this sort of configured slightly incorrectly, or like the theme's just not even being pulled in at all. But this at least will give us some insight around what might be broken.
there's the theme.
Yeah, so the theme itself is empty. So
the shadowing is not working as expected. Is that?
Yeah, so that's I guess it's good in some ways to know like that's doesn't seem to be pulling it in. Oh, you know what? I never configured theme UI.
That'll do it.
So it was never wrapping, which is then why we didn't see the other stuff that we were kind of expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. It's definitely not the first time I've done that too, where I'm just like theme UI, the plugin does a bunch of stuff where then I'm like surprised that I actually have to say to use the plugin because
Right. And it also like part of the difficulty is it imports fine. So it's not like you didn't install it, but you also have to like finish installing it. It's kind of the weird middle ground.
yeah, do the rest of the stuff, please.
Read the document that
Yeah, just don't stink at programming.
be better.
Okay, so I guess we'll have to try that a couple times. So the next part that we're going to want to do is like kind of wrap this in a little bit of a layout of some sort.
Yeah, and I think we had that I guess layout.js is where we're already at right now, right?
Yeah,
Is there like a theme UI spacing thing that we can just tap into?
there is. Yeah, and so I think one of the things you can do, I think that's recipes. Basically, we can tap into just some of these sort of just code things that are sort of meant for cut and paste. I think really to start, the first thing that we want is probably just to have
Yeah,
just like a little container that restricts our copy.
yeah, because we don't really have like navigable sections in this content, really.
Yeah, right. Man, it's so funny. This little, gotta try it like 4 times and then it'll work.
Mhm.
We'll have to address that puppy someday. And so one of the things we can, here we go. Let's start in the Webpack server. We can add in, I guess we can sort of follow this sizes example because we can just restrict like, maybe we'll call it like content container.
Yeah.
And so we can just set this sort of global variable. Let's see. Okay, so we're like halfway there. But now you'll see that it has the dark mode.
Yeah.
That's because I use localhost a bunch for different stuff, and so it's actually being set in the local storage, so theme
Nice. Yeah.
UI color mode. So I think for now we'll just oops, I keep literally clicking it. We'll just nuke the color modes for now, because that's something maybe we'll add it later. It'll be fun, but it's not something we necessarily need this instant. So
We
we
should
can
we can have modes for the different oceans, bodies of water. I don't know,
yeah,
nautical things.
that'll be the ticket when we get there for sure. For now, we should just be able to do this, and it will revert back. So here we go. That's cool. And heading. What do you think about just going 500 for the headings?
Like a medium. Yeah. It's nice. Kind of strappy.
We'll count that for now. And then our theme, let's go ahead and add up near the top. We don't need to use custom properties. We're not worried about that.
And so sizes, by the way, is not something that's in this default theme.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of an add-on thing. Let's say 800. We'll just set it to something arbitrary, and then we can always change it.
I think we've got an extra curly brace in there.
You are right. No.
That's the one.
There we go.
Feels right. If I wanted to do like, let's say I wanted to use like rim for that container, Could I just do a string value for that, I assume?
Yep. Yeah. So if it ever receives like a number, styled system will automatically just convert it to pixels. But if it sees a string, you that's sort of like the way you can change your units or to essentially do anything. And it's smart too, so it knows like with line height, it won't
Right.
turn that to pixels, but like something like a container, of course, it will.
Nice.
And so then here is actually something that's kind of cool that we can kind of toss in really quick as well. That is, we'll use the JSX pragma. And so this is essentially a wrapper around emotions pragma that it uses for the CSS prop. And so, and which is then a wrapper around React.create element. So
Nice.
it allows you to do cool stuff where you can actually like specify, we call it the SX prop. But it's basically the CSS prop that emotion offers, but it knows how to tap into styled system properties and to talk to your theme. So it's kind of like a way where you can then say, I want max width to be our container.
Okay. Yeah. And so sizes in this case is like mapped to max width, or I guess max width is mapped to look at sizes.
Yep. Yeah. It's so like sizes are that's sort of the magic property in your theme UI theme object that works with like height, width, max height, and maybe another thing or two. But yeah, it's sort of like that property that it allows you to sort of specify that in one place, and then these different things that sort of care about size
Mhm.
can be can
Almost
sort of
like
use it.
in a way.
Yeah, and so now we're had the width restricted, which is cool, but we're also going to want to set the margin to auto so it's centered. And we just probably add a little padding on the sides. We'll just say 3. So, and this references the PX3 will reference the third step in our space scale.
Yeah.
And then let's add a little bit to the top too, or I guess both. So like we'll do padding top. We'll call this like 4. That will kind of bring us down. So now it's starting to look cleaner, nicer.
Mm-hmm. And I see the fonts probably because of that default theme. We get these nice responsive upsized fonts on larger screens.
Yeah, yeah. And I almost think we can even bump the font size up a little bit.
Yeah.
Since we're basically like, this is just going to be like this long HTML file. It's like, yo, check me out.
Yeah, let's do
I
that.
think go into styles. And so I don't think we touched on this too, but so we have the styles object
Mm-hmm.
inside the theme UI. And so this is where you can like specify additional styling that's passed on to like your markdown elements where you're styled at H1 if you decide to use them directly.
So
And
this is
so,
implicitly passing this stuff down as long as you've opted in.
yeah. And so here I think we can do like 2, 3, 4. Let's see what happens. So this is going to then style the paragraphs. Should
Like
bump them up in size. Maybe not. Oh, I think it's because here. No, you're not. It's not being. Oh yeah, font size.
there you go.
That helps, I guess. Count it.
There it is.
Okay, so now it's pretty big, pretty chunky, and then
Probably want to apply that to the UL as well, right?
yeah. So we definitely want to do that too. So let's add that in. Let's see if there is a UL. No, so we'll add in the UL. Actually, let's just go bring it back by P. think we can just do that. Let's see.
Yeah. I think it updated it.
Yeah, there we go. So now seems decent. Almost one of the one thing we might want to do too is I think in our text styles, headings, just add a bit more margin on the top.
Yeah.
Kind of break those away. I think we can just do that.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. Do you think that's enough, or do we want
I could do like 6
to one
maybe.
more? Yeah.
5 or 6, yeah. That'll probably be
Or maybe let's do 4, 4, or 4. Let's try 4, 5, 6. And this array syntax too, by the way, so this is like mobile, tablet, desktop.
yeah. And what are those? Where are those widths defined in the theme?
They are defined, I think it's by breakpoints, which we're not currently defining that. We're just using the defaults, but that's where you would. And you can even add in additional breakpoints. So you could have, then you could set an array of 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's enough for now. I think maybe you just want to add, let's set the padding top to be bigger on our entire document. There we go.
That feels good.
Yeah, it's not crazy. This is, and yeah, so of course we wrote all this content previously, but we'll probably work through it in another time to
Kind of
add in
refine.
more dynamic pieces and all that stuff.
Right.
So now we actually, let's commit this that we have.
Yep. If this is we're already at version 0.0.02.
We've nailed this. Add typography and other styles. And so now in a minute or two, we should have this whole new iteration shipped and in production, which is sweet. So really the only piece missing now is our newsletter.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty good.
Yeah. So do you have time to knock a quick
Let's get this newsletter on.
letter? All right, let's do it. What do you want to do for the newsletter? Do you want to do like because ultimately, I guess for our first part, we want emails.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways we could do it. One thing that we could do is like, since we're not really sure exactly what we're going to do with these emails, we could have them sent to a Zap, right? So like Zapier or something similar, and then dispatch that as like an email that just lets us know that there's an email, or we can like add it to a Google Sheet or whatever we want to do. And in the future, we can do all of our super automated, awesome marketing drip campaign stuff that we aren't actually going to do. But that gives us the option to do like pretty much anything we want to do without ever changing that endpoint until we really want to.
totally. And can we just like submit straight to them, or do we need to like use an additional service in order to submit to Zapier, however we say it? I don't even know.
It is. I learned this actually. It's Zapier because the individual little program things are called Zaps. So there you go. For anyone who's wondering, but yeah, I think you can literally just get like a webhook and send it form data, and then do whatever you want to with the form data. So one of us.
Okay.
Let's see. Do you have a Zapier account?
I do for another project. I've started using it for a bunch of stuff, and it's pretty sweet. So we can toss it in.
You could do this like a free option or more free options that you can do free Zaps, but you can do like if this and that will take a webhook as well, which is kind of cool.
Sweet. Yeah, but I'm already paying for
What does that mean?
Zapier. It's going to take me a bit to remember. Zapier.
For whatever reason, Zapier looks more correct. I don't even know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can do like if you make the Zap. I don't think you have to have an app to do it, but
Yeah, so I
yeah,
think just create a brand new Zap. Zap it up.
webhook. I think there it is.
Webhooks. So yeah, I'm definitely in untraveled territory before, so we'll see what's going on.
There it is. Wait, catch. Yeah, looks fine. The other one was raw. What was that?
Let's see.
Probably something we don't need, but huh.
Just unparse. I'm assuming that their web event is probably smart. So it's like, oh, we're taking JSON data. We know what to do.
Yeah,
I'm assuming, but we'll see. Pick, pick off a child key. So that would be, I guess, like email.
yeah, or even data actually, because you can do like because it'll be like a single object, and inside of that object, all of your information from the form.
Okay, okay, okay. Find a hook in webhooks by Zapier. Yeah, I think we just skip that because we don't have it
Yeah,
tied to anything yet.
yeah. And then so
Uh,
here we can like just send an email or I don't know, a way to save it, maybe Google Sheets or something.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I guess like if I were to or Airtable, do it that way. If I were to back up and like do this all from nothing, you could literally like embed a Google form, right? Like that would be maybe the truly easiest possible thing.
Yeah. I've never personally even used the Google form. Is that maybe what we just want to roll with for the start and then tie in the Zapier thing will be a
Like
new phase?
sure, yeah,
Trying to wonder.
yeah. I mean, either way, because I think the like what we're gonna have to do from here is we'll have to go and build our form, right? And then of course pass that information over and then figure out a way like how are we going to what are we going to display on air or whatever. We have to do all the form handling. If we have an embedded form, then the form kind of handles it for us. So it's a trade-off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something is one thing that's nice, I guess, if we decide to initially start with the Zap, is then we can we already have our pipeline set up to do those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also now have form management,
Yeah,
which
I mean, I think with just an email, it's probably not too bad.
yeah, let's roll a Zap.
Let's do it. I think it gives us the most flexibility.
Yeah, so we'll just create a spreadsheet row in Google Sheets. So for now, it just seems Google Sheets is a good place to pipe it for now.
Yep.
It's our database.
Yeah. And I think there's probably a way like there's a way that you could send this to Firebase or something if you wanted to, and just have it kind of route into Zapier and then back out rather than connecting directly to Firebase. You could send a webhook to Zapier and have Zapier actually forward a webhook to another server or something, which
Mhm.
allows you to just kind of intercept that and do other cool stuff with it.
Yeah, it's actually what I have set up for components.ai, which is kind of cool. It basically like I have a newsletter table
Yep.
in Firebase, and then when stuff's added there, Zapier takes it over and does all the things, which is cool. So I think I guess I'm gonna need to create a spreadsheet.
Yep.
Knocks out.
Also, this shortcut, I don't know if you saw it, sheets.new will actually take you to this new spreadsheet like flow.
Rad. Yeah, I didn't even notice that, but dig it. So here, what do we call this? Iterative Ship newsletter for now.
Yeah. I think we have to add headers too, for it to know like where to add the rows.
So we call it header. How do I add a header? I don't even know.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. In this frame, header is just that first row. So you just put email in that A1.
Email.
Yeah. We don't do spreadsheets for a living. This is not my job.
My spreadsheet's much more difficult to work with. It's in SQL. It sucks more. Okay.
Yes.
Sheet 1. It's funny, like it's actually like working out pretty well.
Yeah.
Having no idea what the frig I'm doing. We'll see if it like
it's gonna say like, oh, we don't have anything to map yet. It doesn't know because we haven't sent it any data. It doesn't know what might be available off of our data. So like
okay.
once we send it a hook, we can come back here and change this zap and it'll actually work. And like one thing you could do to get the kind of the data format right is we can set up do like a postman or even a curl and hit that webhook and then create the little mappings and then just copy whatever the format is over into our app.
Okay, yeah. So how do we, I guess I need to find the...
Yeah, I think it's in that hook. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Okay. So we have our hook now. We can do, what is it? Curl post. I think we can do D for data. Data. It's a key. Email. johnotander@gmail.com. I think that's right.
Feels right.
Then we pass it to our hook, Zapier, not Zapier, Zapier.
Success. That looks good. All right, so now oh wait, so this is the sending part. We want to go up to the catching part.
Oh, over here. Find data.
Here we go. There it is.
Oh, this one, right? Should be this one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. So now if you go think, yeah, so all it's doing there is just saying, okay, this is your sample. And then now in the create spreadsheet action, customizing the spreadsheet row, and then email, do the little magic field thing. Yep. There it is. Email. So now as long as we send that same stuff, you should actually, yeah, if you send the test, you should see your email pop up in here.
Oh, yeah. So we can send test now. It's basically redoing our hook for us. We should see my email.
There it is.
So now let's add you. Make sure it's working. Is it Jonathan Trap
Look at that. Yes, that's correct.
on fire. So now,
Oh, but here's the problem.
oh, it's,
Zap's not on.
yeah, we need this, don't we?
But cool. So now you can actually, yeah, just send the hook again, which is another nice thing about it.
Sweet. That's
That.
rad.
Another thing you can like, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with Zapier that we don't need to do right now, but you can do like a find in a row, and if it finds it, then don't add it. So like, if we don't want to get duplicates or whatever, not like it's a big deal. It's easy to remove those in this scenario. But if you were really doing a lot of intense stuff where you didn't want duplicates to show up, like if you had like a grouping of people or something like that, that's a really important like factor. You can do a lot of stuff in Zapier. So, cool.
Sweet.
But this,
Yeah, that's awesome. So we basically like we have our backend set up. So now we need to make a component that we can render in our markdown document.
exactly.
So now here we'll use our sign up. We're going to want to add some styling to this. So right from the beginning, I'm just going to use the theme UI pragma. So we can use that nice JSX prop.
Mm-hmm. And this, by the way, this comment is a like a linting thing, or is it for Babel, or what is that for?
Yeah, it's a special comment for Babel that says normally, so like right now, the way it's like set up is it just assumes React is like the pragma. And so everywhere we're using JSX, it maps that function call to react.createElement.
Mm-hmm.
But here, when you specify a comment with this syntax, the at JSX, and then whatever that ends up being, you tell Babel to actually transpile it to call the JSX function that we then also have in scope. So like,
Local.
yeah, foo normally becomes react.create element like foo.
Mm-hmm.
But with this JSX pragma, it will actually become JSX foo.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep.
And what the theme UI does, it takes out that SX prop, does its magic, passes it to a motion, and then those elements that are then received, it then calls React to create element for. So it's sort of just a wrapper when it boils down to it.
Yep.
And then we'll want use state from React. We'll get to do a little bit of a hooks action now.
Super nice.
Export default. We don't care about anything right now. Just do email, set email equals use state, initialize a null. And then we'll do input type equals email, value equals the email we've created state with. We'll want to wrap this too, because we'll want a label that will then we'll probably just hide the label, but we want that label to be there.
Yeah. Would it make sense to just go ahead and wrap it in a form?
Yes, it would.
I didn't know if there was like a reason you were holding out on that, or
No, not at all. Placeholder examiner name at example.com. Then on change, we'll get the events. We'll just do this all in line. We don't need to worry about optimizing all the things. And we'll do set email, and we'll get the e.target.value, I think.
Yep, that's right.
I think now we have enough to actually just even start testing this puppy before we sort of style it. So source, pages, index, import newsletter sign up from our newly created component.
What do you think about putting the newsletter sign up like towards the top also?
That would probably make sense. Yeah, we should definitely do that.
The nice little thing about having your, having it be a component is that that's incredibly easy to do.
Yeah, for now, yeah, we'll toss it here and we can move it around later. And are we running the site still? No, of course not. So we'll take us a couple tries. Make sure it's, oh, get out of here. Yeah. I killed the server.
And we sit in silence. At least it's not like the same kind of long build processes that I've heard about in other languages, we'll say.
Yeah, ultimately it's not too long, but it is timely. It's just funny. It's like, I'll work every once in a while.
Exactly.
So we're just.
But these are the things like, this is why you have to add, like, we didn't walk into this thinking, oh yeah, we're going to have to retry builds like 4 or 5 times before they work. There's no way that we would have thought that that might be a problem. I feel like that's kind of like it's more common that something happens like this than we expect. Something will always happen, but there's no way that we would have planned for that. So you kind of have to plan for the unknown thing in a given like sprint like this. You call it a sprint, whatever work session. Something is going to keep you from doing the thing you wanted to do.
Oh, come on. Yeah, it's funny how that works, but that's kind of why taking this approach, though, it seems exciting to me. It's just basically starting with a bulleted list of we should try to do these things and then see how far we get and whether we get stuck or whatever.
I think
it's more authentic for how it works.
I think it's also kind of interesting, like, hey, look, it worked. When we like how easy it is to stray away from the bullets, even if it's like this very small list and we're obviously focused on it, it's easy to like go over and do this other thing that we didn't have to do or talk about this other thing that has nothing to do with the bullets. And I feel like that's like such a common problem.
Yep. It really is.
All right, a little SX prop.
Yes, we're going to toss on a little SX prop. I'm not sure if this is like accessible or not. We'll probably want to look this up when we do a second pass.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just say display none for now because we want the label to be there. But
it's like visibility hidden is the
is that the one? Okay.
But the problem that you're going to run into is like, I think it keeps its size. Maybe. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. But then.
Oh no, at least not in this.
Oh no, yeah, it's there. But then what we can do is just
like font size can be
display a block, right? Oops.
Yeah, and then it just pops it down.
Yeah, we'll call that good enough for now.
It's still there, but whatever.
Yeah, Hmm.
Another thing that I've seen done is like position absolute, which I don't know if that's accessible or not, but it takes it out of the render like flow.
Yeah. Let's toss that in for now. Call it good to go. And then
Space, we have this hidden label.
so now let's also give this a tiny bit of styling. Font size.
3 maybe, like 2.
I'm trying to remember what we set for the paragraphs. Trying 2, 3, 4, maybe.
Yep.
Looks right. Set some padding. PX, maybe we'll make that bigger, and then PY will be like this. It's pretty big. Whatever. I guess it is 3. Yeah, maybe we want this to be 3s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that feels better.
slightly different. And then we'll want the on submit. For now, I think we can even shortcut validation for round 1.
What do you mean?
To make sure it's even an email. I wonder if maybe we
just do like input type.
Yeah, we have the input type, so yeah, like technically
it's already validating, right?
Yeah, unless someone's like modifying the actual HTML itself, it should be good to go. Yeah. So
it works if you're actually submitting though, right? Like if you click the button, we would still get the on click event. And if you were, let's say we just put a button in here and then we listen to the on click, well, the type for the email may like show your little error, but it may also still submit a bad email.
Yeah. Oh, and actually something we should do too is submitted, set submitted. So here now we're sending the handle submit. Actually, we don't even need to give it the email because we can just inline that function. We just want to say handle submit. Handle submit.
Because we're going to use that state. Yep.
And then we'll do as a const fetch URL.
What's the auto wrap near them or something?
What's that? Never remember how to do the fetch. So I guess it's the URL.
Yeah, you have the and then option object basically. So I think it's method.
Method post. Await const response equals await fetch.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, we'll set that.
And I think that Zapier is smart. So like if this ended up being sent as form data for whatever reason, it would probably still work. I'm not entirely sure about that.
It seemed like because we never actually told it what type it was. It just
kind of knew.
Figured it out. Yeah.
And here we have to build our little object, right?
Yeah. So now we're JSON stringifying the data, but we gotta define our data, which is, it's really just email. So
Well, it's data, and then inside of data, email.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. I think also, by the way, that they force that, so you can't have like a primitive like a string, for example, come back off of that key. I think it has to be an object.
All right. So let's open up the network too, so we have that being grabbed. I think it might be good to just give it a whack. Let's see what happens. So we need to stop prevent default.
Yep. Otherwise, they'll literally just submit the form.
We'll do that.
It might make sense for us to actually set the form URL to the API URL as well. What do you think about that?
I have no idea. Do you think that might just magically work?
It won't magically work because we'd have to like massage the data, like the input name and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, we want to interrupt it anyway.
Next, I think it's preventing default now. Let's see, what are you mad about? It's mad about this being null.
Oh yeah, empty string.
Which makes sense, yeah. No, let's do foo at bar.com.
Hey.
Yeah, so it's the cores. I think we can tell it no cores, right? Like, don't worry about cores. No cores fetch.
Where we end up. Oh man, this may be the problem that we have here with the Zapier plan. If Zapier doesn't allow cores.
I swear you could set like cores, no cores or something, and it would mode no. I think this will work.
Let's see what happens.
Where are we?
Here on my end, I'll just Google.
We did it.
Oh, it worked. Nice.
Foo at bar. So now we basically have our back end working. So really, we just want to kind of clean up the newsletter component really quick. So I got a jet in a few seconds.
Perfect.
Let's try and.
Do you want to have a button in there or no?
I think maybe let's add that puppy in next time. Yeah. Oops. So I think we'll definitely want it. Join the newsletter for updates. Import that styled.
There we go.
And let's do, once we're on this form, we can kind of just give it a touch of something. SX. Background color. I think we say muted. Maybe if it does anything. Can't remember what we. Yeah, there we go.
There's something. And then we could do like padding around the whole thing.
Yeah, let's do px of 4, py of 3, arbitrary numbers,
Yeah.
and in our style, it's actually sx equals m0.
That's what's causing that top. Yeah.
Maybe we want mt0, mb2. And then here in our handle submit, we'll also then do set submitted true if submitted will return a different component.
Yeah.
It'll just be like div bg or sx equals background color primary color white.
Successful submission, basically.
Yeah. Actually, let's just grab this whole chunk stuff. Submitted successfully.
We think. Hopefully.
Ooh, at Baz. Bam.
Yeah.
Damn, we did it. All
Art.
right. Let's just make sure it's in the thing. And if it is, I think we're ready to just commit that puppy and call it good to go. Although that hot reload, you didn't have to even resubmit. That's not bad, really. Minimal, but it'll work.
I've definitely seen worse things done with an hour and a half or wherever we're at now.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah, so we'll just say add newsletter. And I think with that, we've completed our tasks for the day.
Knocked them all off. Now we can go and do anything we want.
Yeah, we have a very, very minimal but totally viable website with a newsletter sign up. So now when we start doing actual streams, we have something to sort of point folks to and kind of gauge interest.
Sweet. It's perfect.
And so, yeah.
Close enough to perfect.
Close enough. And yeah, in a handful, a minute or so, we'll see the new stuff show up. So yeah, I guess thanks for jamming. That's fun.
It was awesome.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
All right.